Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our regular Thursday lecture. I hope that your day is going great. We are thrilled to have you here with us to learn more about the role of standardized tests in the application process to US universities. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, let me just briefly introduce myself. As some of you may already know, my name is Victoria, and I'm the outreach coordinator for the Education USA network here in Ukraine. We are, of course, part of the global network of the US Department of State committed to promoting diversity in US higher education system and, of course, building bridges of knowledge across borders. As the official source on US higher education, we offer accurate, comprehensive, and unbiased information about opportunities to study at accredited colleges and universities in the United States. We understand that the process of applying to the US can be quite different from that in Ukraine, so we are here to guide you every step of the process and answer all of your questions from beginning to end. Today, we're going to dive deeper into how test scores can impact scholarship opportunities in the United States. So if you're interested in applying to the US and want to know what you should expect from such exams as IELTS, TOEFL, Duolingo English test, SATs, ACTs, etc., and do you actually have to take standardized tests? And of course, when is the best time to start preparing in order to get the best score? Then you're here in the right place. It is my pleasure to welcome Dr. Aaron Mamaj, Director of International Studies and Programs, and Erikою Kraus, Associate Director of International Admissions and Recruitment at Youngstown State University, who are going to share some insights into how you can increase your chances of success when applying to the US for a scholarship and what resources are available to international students. Before we jump into the session, I would just like to encourage you all to stay active and ask lots of questions. We would love to hear from you and help you on your journey to studying at the university or college of your dreams. So, without further ado, Erica, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Victoria, and thank you to everyone joining us today. My name is Erikою Kraus, and I'm very happy to begin our presentation on how test scores impact scholarship opportunities in the United States. All right, let's get started. So first, I'll share a presentation outline. So this is the information that we will be covering in today's session. First, I will share some general advice about applications. Then we will delve deeper into the testing landscape in the United States and talking about the different tests you may be required to submit in your college applications. Then we will understand scholarship opportunities. And finally, we will end with a brief overview of the university that I work at, which is Youngstown State University, located in Ohio in the United States. And at the end, we will have plenty of time for your questions. So please be engaged, type your questions, and we're very happy to address those at the end of the session. All right, so first, we will start with some general application advice. So right now, you may be finishing high school and you're looking at studying in the United States. So you may have already started this process of looking up universities and seeing when those applications are due and when you can submit those. So it's very important to know the deadlines. So many applications will have a date that the application will end, meaning you cannot apply after it. So it's very important for the schools that you're interested in to first know what that application deadline is, the last day to apply. I encourage you to create a calendar, maybe on your phone or your computer, or just write it down on a piece of paper and write down all of those application deadlines so you can begin to stay organized and ensure you apply before that date. It's also important to note that some scholarships have their own deadline or a priority deadline. So your scholarship deadline may be different than the application deadline. So this is important to know because you don't want to miss out on those scholarship opportunities just because you missed the day and didn't know when that was due. So know your deadlines, do your research early, and make a calendar or write down those deadlines so that you can be prepared. So sometimes students will say, when should I apply? Does it matter? Should I apply really early, or should I wait until the last minute and submit my application? So it definitely does matter when you apply. In general, scholarships and spots at universities are not infinite, so they may run out. So it's important to apply before the deadlines. So apply early. That is when you will have the best chance for being awarded a scholarship and a place at the university. So be sure to know when the application opens, and I encourage you to submit your application early, weeks, if not months before that deadline. You want to be sure that you get your application submitted early while there's still a great chance for scholarships. So what should you do next? We definitely recommend that you apply to 1, if not 2 or 3 schools, because you may not get accepted to every single one you apply to, but if you apply to a few of your top choices, you'll definitely have a better chance of getting an acceptance and hopefully securing a scholarship at one of those schools. Keep in mind, universities have application fees. So if you apply to 10 or more universities, those application fees can really start to add up. So you want to be intentional about which applications you're applying to and monitor those fees because they can add up if you're applying to a lot of universities. All right, so now we are going to delve into the testing landscape. You may have heard about some of these tests, but if you haven't, that's totally fine. So in the United States, when students apply to university or colleges, they're often required to take different tests. We have achievement tests, and for international students who want to study in the US, we have English language proficiency tests. Because as an international student, if your native language is not English, you will have to show that you have English language proficiency and be able to study at the college level in the United States. So we will talk more about these different types of tests now. So first, we'll start with achievement test. So typically, this is the SAT or ACT. Now, these tests, US American students take these as well in high school, and then they are, sending their test scores just like you will be to the university that they want to apply to. So these achievement tests are common if you are applying to selective universities. Some of those very prestigious universities in the US may have a requirement for you to submit this SAT or ACT. They are also common if you are applying to the honors program within that university. So the honors program may have higher academic requirements, like a higher GPA from high school, higher grades from high school, and they also may require you to submit this SAT or ACT test. So increasingly in the United States, and since the COVID-19 period, many universities here in the US have switched to what we call test optional. That means in the past, you may have been required to submit an SAT or ACT test. However, many universities have changed since COVID-19 to test optional, which means this is not mandatory. It is up to you. You can decide if you want to submit your SAT and ACT test in your application, or you don't have to. So that is SAT and ACT. Briefly, those achievement tests, they are rigorous academic tests, testing your knowledge on a variety of subjects. The other type of test that we'll talk about today is the English language proficiency tests. So again, these are tests for international students who are non-native English speakers. You may have heard of some of these different tests. There are many different options, and universities will often accept a variety of these tests. So there is the TOEFL test, which is the test of English as a foreign language. You may also see the TOEFL IBT, which stands for Internet-Based Test. So that's taking the TOEFL test online. There is also the IELTS test, which stands for the International English Language Testing System. And there is the Duolingo English test, the DET. This has become popular post-COVID, I believe, in the United States. This may be a newer English test, but many universities are now accepting this test. And there's also the Pearson Test of English, or the PTE. So those are just a few examples of different English language proficiency tests. So think about this and let us know in the chat. What English language proficiency test have you taken? And we'll see which ones are popular ones that you may have taken already or are planning to take. So feel free, you can type your answer in the chat and we'll check out your answers later. All right, so speaking a little bit more about English language proficiency tests, like I said, students from non-English speaking countries will need to demonstrate their English proficiency in order to be accepted to universities in the United States. The standard way to do this is taking one of those English proficiency tests that we talked about, like TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo. And in some cases, universities will allow you to submit an achievement test, which is the ACT or SAT, instead of a true English language proficiency test. So it's always important to check the admission requirements for each school because the SAT and ACT tests are offered in English language, so they may consider this for your English language proficiency requirement. It's also important to note that in some cases, if you are a transfer student who studied in the United States or another English-speaking country, such as England or Australia, this English proficiency test may be waived from you. So that means you may not have to take this if you've already studied college level credit at an English-speaking country or in the United States. So in that case, you would not have to submit an English test score. Also, if you are interested in studying in the United States to study English as a second language, so just focusing on learning English in the US, you may not have to submit this test score because, they know that you'll be studying English in the US when you arrive. So those are some notes to know about the English language proficiency test. All right, so you may be thinking, okay, we've talked about achievement tests and English tests. Which ones do I need to submit? And the answer is check the admission requirements for your university because each university in the United States is different. Each university here can create their own admission requirements. So they may require different tests and they may require different levels or scores of the test. We'll talk about this more. So I just shared a screenshot from our university's admission requirements to give you an example of what types of tests our university requires. So this is our freshman first-time undergraduate admission requirements website. So let's look here and find what tests are required. So for minimum requirements, we see, a minimum grade point average or GPA requirement is a 2.0 on the 4.0 scale. Bullet number 2 says proof of English language proficiency. Browse the English proficiency requirement webpage for details. And as I'm scanning the other text on this screen, it does not say you need to submit an achievement test. So at Youngstown State University, you do not need to submit an SAT or ACT. but you do have to submit an English language proficiency test. So if we click there for more details, we will see here a list of all of the English language proficiency tests that Youngstown State University requires and the minimum scores. So these are the scores you need to have or have higher than in order to be admitted to our university. So we can see the TOEFL IBT, that internet-based TOEFL test, that requirement's a 67. The IELTS exam requirement is a 6.0 with at least a 5.0 on each of the different subscale categories. And for YSU, we accept the ACT or SAT for your English language proficiency test. So we don't require it for admission, but if you've already taken it, you can submit that for your English language proficiency test. So you can see here our SAT combined score of 920 or higher is our minimum requirement. For the ACT, our requirement is a 17 or higher. And we accept the Duolingo English test. Our minimum score for undergraduate admission is a 95. And if you've taken the Pearson Test of English, PTE, that minimum score is a 50. So that was just an example of the English language proficiency tests that we require. So now let's switch to talking about achievement tests, the SAT or ACT. I'll touch upon this briefly, but definitely if you have questions about the SAT or ACT, please connect with Education USA in Victoria. They have wonderful information and resources to provide you about these topics. So for the SAT, in the United States, high school students have to take this test in person at a school location. But for you as an international student outside of the USA, you can register for this test online. The SAT does have a registration fee, so keep that in mind. You do have to pay for this test. And there are two different types of sections on the SAT test. There is a reading and writing section. You can see that there are a total of 64 minutes or 1 hour for that section. And there are 54 questions to answer during that time. For the second section, the math section, that time allotted is 70 minutes total. And there are 44 questions during that time. So you can see these achievement tests are pretty long. Definitely you want to prepare in advance. There are many preparatory resources for you to help you practice before you take these exams. So that's the SAT test. The ACT test also contains different sections. So they have multiple choice questions in 4 areas, whereas the SAT only has 2 areas of topics. So in the ACT, you have an English section, mathematics, reading, and science. Oh, there is a writing test, a writing section that is optional, and that would not be included in your total score. So you can also register for the ACT test online because you're outside of the United States, and they have certain specific days that you can take your test on. The ACT test also has a fee for registration, so keep that in mind. You will be paying for your application fee to the university, and if they require achievement tests, you will also have to pay the fee for those tests. All right. So what does this mean for you? First, I really encourage you to do your research and understand the admission requirements of the university you're interested in. Know exactly what English score you need to have, if you need to have an achievement test and what that score requirement is, and also know the grade point average that you'll need to have to be admitted to that university. So once you know the admission requirements, look to see if the university you're applying to allows you to submit an SAT or ACT test in place of an English language proficiency test. because that will give you with an option. So like at our university, Youngstown State University, you don't have to submit an SAT or ACT achievement test. However, for our English language proficiency test, we will accept that test. So this poses an option for you. So start to think, how comfortable are you with English? Can you understand, interpret, and solve complex mathematics, perhaps, problems in English? If the answer is yes, and you feel that you have a high level of English proficiency, then you may want to practice and take the SAT or ACT test instead of also preparing for a language test. So in that case, you would only have to prepare for one test, which would be the SAT or ACT. However, and this is totally fine because everyone has different levels of English speaking, but if you think that your English is good enough for admission, your scores meet the admission requirements, but your English is not very advanced, then it is good to prepare for an English proficiency test, like TOEFL or IELTS, that is just going to test your level of English speaking, writing, comprehension, and more. So if your English is very high and you're very confident and you can solve those really hard academic questions in English, then you should, consider studying and taking an achievement test like SAT or ACT. But if your university doesn't require it and you don't feel that confident with your English, ability, then maybe just focus on an English language proficiency test. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about scholarships. Then we'll talk about how your test scores will impact these scholarships. So in the United States, there are many different types of scholarships awarded to students. These can be academic, so based on your high school grade performance and, your SAT or ACT achievement test scores. There are also athletic scholarships. So if you're a top athlete back home, you may be able to get an athletic scholarship and be an athlete on a team at the university. And in those cases, sometimes they do award scholarships for those students. There are also honors college programs. So within the university, you can also be accepted to their honors program, which has different benefits for you. You'll have the opportunity to take honors level coursework. So if you are a high achieving student with great grades, definitely you could be eligible for an honors program that may have additional honor scholarship opportunities for you. If you are a graduate student, there are different types of graduate scholarship and assistantship opportunities. So an assistantship may be where you are providing a service to the department, like perhaps you are performing research or you are teaching. Then they will give you an assistantship and help pay for your tuition in exchange for you helping with research or teaching. There are also fellowships and grants, so you can be awarded money by different organizations. And there's also need-based scholarships. So if you have a financial need, meaning you don't have the funds to fully pay for your education, and you have a little bit of a need to help you finance your studies in the United States, there are what we call needs-based scholarships that may award scholarships to international students who qualify. And there's also scholarships based on community service that you have done or leadership opportunities and experiences you have completed. So in all, there are many different types of scholarships in the United States that you can be considered for and apply for. So scholarships are usually based on the following. So often universities will look at your high school grade point average. So what your high school grades were. You don't have to submit anything for that. The university will just look at the transcript that you submitted in your application, and they will determine what your high school GPA is. Scholarships are also based on the SAT or ACT test. So they're often based on those achievement test scores. Sometimes scholarships are based off of essays that you write. They may provide you with a few questions and ask you to write essays talking about your experience. And so sometimes if you write an amazing essay, you may be granted a scholarship to study. So it's important to know that often the SAT and ACT tests are not admission requirements, meaning it could be test optional. You don't have to submit it. However, often these tests are tied to scholarship, meaning that some universities will award scholarships to students based on the SAT or ACT test. And in that case, if your only chance to get a scholarship from that university is submitting an SAT or ACT test, then you probably want to prepare and study for that test so you could be considered for scholarship. All right, so in a review of scholarships and funding, start your research now. Research those universities and look at the scholarship opportunities that they have. An important question to ask yourself is, does the university, it looks like my screen just changed. There we go. So does the university have a separate scholarship application? So you have to submit your application to the university to apply, but do you also have to submit a separate scholarship application? Or do you just submit one application and are considered for scholarship? So be sure to ask that question and look for that when you're doing research. So maybe the university awards the scholarship automatically. Like for our university, Youngstown State University, for our academic scholarships, we award these automatically to you based on your GPA calculation. So no essay or applications required from you. Understand what those scholarship requirements are. So what are they looking at that you need to provide in order to be eligible for a scholarship? And know if there are any deadlines to apply for those scholarships. Often there is a deadline that you need to apply by in order to be considered for that scholarship money. And some scholarship applications may require essays. So take time writing your essay, have a peer or a teacher review that essay for you. Spend some time on those essays because that could be what gets you a scholarship. And for graduate students, ask about assistantships and fellowships to see if those type of funding options are available for you. All right. So once you've understood and started to do your research about applying to the United States, you want to know, number one, what are the minimum admission requirements of the university? And number two, how are scholarships awarded? Are these awarded based off of your high school grades and grade point average? Or are they awarded based off essays or tests like the SAT or the GRE for graduate students? And then ask number three, how does my academic profile fit within number one and number two? So looking at yourself, your grades, your achievement test scores, your English language test scores, how do I fit within their requirements? So if you're an advanced English speaker, perhaps you have an IELTS score of over 7.5 or a TOEFL score of over 102. Maybe prepare for the SAT or ACT achievement tests. If you have an English score that's maybe a little bit lower, maybe focus on taking an English language proficiency test. So we are going to do a little practice scenario of this for you. So we are going to look at this student named Mary. Here is her academic profile. She has a 3.5 GPA, which is out of a 4.0 on the US scale. So in the United States, the highest GPA that you can have is a 4.0. So she has a 3.5, which is pretty good, above average. Then her combined SAT score is a 900. And she has a Duolingo English test score of 95. So that's her English proficiency requirement test. And then she has her achievement test, the SAT. So she is applying to 2 of her top favorite schools. Let's see what she's considering. Okay, so she is looking at University A. So the first university has tuition of $26,000 per year. That includes cost of tuition, books, housing, meals, everything. So that's the total cost for 1 year. Their minimum GPA requirement for admission is a 2.0. She has a 3.5, she's good. The minimum Duolingo English score is a 95. That's what she has. She meets that requirement. SAT is not required for admission. It's optional. But she already took the test, so she's good. Now, this University A awards scholarship based only on high school GPA. And a 3.5 GPA will award a $3,500 scholarship per year. So they only looked at her high school GPA, and they've offered her a $3,500 scholarship per year. Now let's look at University B, the second school. This university has a total tuition for 1 year of $24,000. This school is even more affordable than University A. So it's $24,000 per year tuition. The minimum GPA requirement is higher at a 3.0. She has a 3.5, so she's good. The minimum Duolingo English score requirement is a 95, which she has. She's good. SAT is not required. It is optional. Now, this University B awards scholarship differently. They award scholarship by SAT score only. So they won't look at her high school GPA. They're just looking at her SAT scores. They begin offering scholarships at a 1270 SAT score. With that score, she will get $5,000 per year taken off of her tuition. And if she has a 1370 or higher, she will be awarded $10,000 per year. Now, if we go back and see, Mary's SAT score is lower. It is a 900. So unfortunately for Mary, she is not eligible for any scholarships from this University B. So for University B, she will have no scholarship, but she will expect to pay a tuition of $24,000 per year. Now, looking back at University A, they will give her a $3,500 scholarship based on her GPA. So her total cost for that university is $22,500. So University A, which actually had higher tuition initially, will actually be the most affordable option for her because she qualifies for their scholarship. So, there is a difference in fees. So this is definitely one thing to consider. So, she qualifies for scholarship at University A, and that cost of studying was lower for her. Now, she didn't qualify for any scholarships, but if she did have a higher SAT score, or maybe she takes the SAT score again, which you can do, you can take the SAT test more than one time. So she could practice and take the test again, perhaps. If she raises that score, then she may be eligible for more scholarship. So this is just a practice insight, giving you an idea of how your test scores can impact your scholarship opportunities. And you can see each university is different, so your opportunities will be different at each university. So you could do something like this at home. Write a sheet down of all of the requirements and the scholarship, and you could figure out what scholarship you may be eligible for from each university, and then figure out what your total cost may be. That may help you in making your decision on which university to choose from. All right, so that is the end of the presentation on how test scores impact scholarship opportunities. So now I'll spend just a few minutes talking about Youngstown State University. So please hang out for a few more minutes while we cover information about Youngstown State University. So Youngstown State University was founded in the year 1908. So that means for over 100 years in the United States, we have been educating students and offering degrees. We are a public university, and we are ranked in the top 101 universities in the regional Midwest of the United States. We are very well known for our engineering and business programs, which are top accredited, meaning they are the highest level of programs offered in the United States. We are a mid-sized university, so currently we have 11,000 students on campus, and we are proud to have been increasing our international student enrollment on campus to 1,000 international students total. And we do have a few number of students from the Ukraine here as well. We're proud to offer over 100 undergraduate major options for you. So anything you can think of, we have all of the different colleges and programs here for undergraduate studies. And for graduate studies, we have 24 different programs, many master's programs in engineering and computer science, but also in things like financial economics. And we do have a few PhD programs as well, if you're looking at graduate studies. So I put a map of the state of Ohio here, and where the red star is where our university is located. So we are located in the city of Youngstown, Ohio, which is where we get our name from. This is a small city with around 65,000 people, but we are part of a larger metropolitan area. So there are many smaller cities and communities nearby where you can do all of your shopping and hang out, go to the mall, go to the movie theater. Everything you need is nearby. And we're also close, just 1 hour away to the north of us and 1 hour away to the south, to large cities in the United States of Cleveland, Ohio, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So these are very large cities with many amenities and international airports. So we have that small city feel here, but also beautiful green and nature areas nearby. And within 1 hour, you can be in large cities. We are proud to be one of the most affordable universities in the United States. So I'll share more about our tuition and scholarships next. So our entry requirements, our admission requirements are here. For undergraduate students, the minimum GPA is a 2.0 on the 4.0 scale. We do require you to submit an English language proficiency test. So for the TOEFL test, our minimum requirement score is a 67. For IELTS, that minimum requirement is a 6.0, that's 6. And for the Duolingo English test, that minimum requirement is a 95. We do have an application fee of $75 for the undergraduate application. For the graduate application, the minimum GPA is a 2.7 on the 4.0 scale. And we do accept TOEFL as a 79 minimum score. IELTS, that minimum score is a 6.5 overall. And on our Duolingo English test, that minimum requirement is a 105 for graduate studies. And that application fee is $120. And I do have a picture of our mascot here on the screen that's also on my shirt. This is Pete the Penguin. So we're the Youngstown State University Penguins. That's our mascot. All right, so our application is currently open for the fall 24 semester, which begins this August, so in a few months. So if you are an undergraduate student, our application deadline is June 1st. So be sure to apply before June 1st. And for graduate students who want to study in fall 24, coming up in August, that application deadline is April 15. So this application is approaching soon. So those are the application deadlines to write down and keep in mind. All right, so briefly I'll share about our tuition and living costs for one academic year of study. So on the first chart there, you can see our estimated undergraduate tuition and cost. So these are for students studying a bachelor's degree. The average tuition and fees for 1 year, which is both fall and spring semester, is $11,600. The cost to live on campus in a residence hall and have a dining meal plan, so you won't have to cook, is $10,384. So that's live on campus and have a meal plan. We also estimate that you'll spend around $1,200 on books and supplies. So this depends on what courses you are enrolled in and what books are required for each of those classes. Then all international students at Youngstown State University are enrolled in an excellent health insurance program so that you're able to, go to the doctors and receive any medical care in the United States if you get sick. We hope you don't, but you will have insurance, so you will be covered. And that cost for 1 year is $1,351. So the total estimated expenses for one academic year of study for undergraduate students is $24,535. And I'll just share for graduate students, you can see that chart here as well, the second chart. The average tuition and fees is the only difference. That cost is even lower at $10,400 per year. So those are our estimated tuition and living costs for this upcoming year. And you can see a picture on the bottom there with the American flag. That's at our football stadium. So we do have all of the different sports and athlete teams and programs here at our university. All right, and wrapping up, I'll share just briefly about our undergraduate scholarships. So these are the academic merit scholarships we offer to first-time freshman students. These scholarships are offered automatically, meaning there is no separate scholarship application that you have to complete. No essays are required. And so you'll just apply and submit your transcript. And when we offer you an admission decision, if you're eligible, we will provide you with this scholarship. So we award scholarships solely based on your high school transcripts and GPA or grade point average. So if you have a 3.0 to 3.39, we'll award you $1,000 per year. If you have a 3.4 to 3.69, we will award you $2,500 per year. And if you have a 3.69 to a 4.0, we will award you $4,000 per year. So these awards are renewable, meaning you won't just get it 1 year. You will get it all 4 years of your bachelor's degree. However, you do have to maintain good grades to keep getting it every year. So while studying at our university, you must maintain a 3.0 GPA average to continue to receive these scholarships. So if you have a 3.5 GPA or higher, when we admit you, we will tell you that because of your high GPA, or if you submitted an SAT or ACT test score, which is optional, but if you have a 26 on the ACT or a 1240 on the ACT, we will recommend you fill out a separate application to our honors program. There are a few essays to answer, an application to fill out, but if accepted, you will receive an additional $1,000 honors tuition scholarship per year. So you can combine the honors scholarship with our scholarship. They will also provide you with a $2,000 housing scholarship to live on campus for 2 years. So if you choose to live on campus, they'll give you $4,000 to help with that cost. We also have graduate scholarships available as well. And for all incoming undergraduate students For fall 24, if you choose to live on campus, we will give you a $2,000 scholarship for that first year to bring your cost of living from around $10,000 to around $8,000. So all incoming first-year international undergrad students are eligible for that scholarship. Okay, so if you have any questions, now is the time. Please put your questions in the chat. We're happy to answer those. And for more information, you can visit our website, which is www.ysu.edu/IFS. If you have questions, you can email us at intadm@ysu.edu. And please check us out on social media. We'd love to connect with you. You can find us on Instagram at YSUIPO. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Erica, for a fantastic presentation. I highly enjoyed it and feel like I've learned so much myself. So I would just like to reinstate our call for questions. So to our lovely students at home, we would love to hear from you. So please do not hesitate to reach out and put your questions down in the comments. And while we wait for questions, I actually have one of my own, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
And it would be about opportunities to work on campus. So are undergraduate students eligible to work on campus at Youngstown State University?
Yes, so all international students at Youngstown State University are eligible to work on campus. And following the visa regulations, that means you could work part-time while classes are in session during this semester, which would be a maximum of working 20 hours per week. So international students are able to work on campus. Normally students in their second year or later years will easily find a job on campus. So yeah, there's definitely opportunities to work part-time while you're studying, which is a great opportunity for you to make some extra money to, say, help pay for health insurance or your books or some of your living costs.
Thank you so much for your answer. And another question I often get asked would be about letters of recommendation. So I don't think I heard you mention letters of recommendation as a requirement for applications, but would they be beneficial if students still ask their professors or their teachers to submit those?
So at Youngstown State University, in our undergraduate application, we do not require them. So there's not even a space in the application for them to upload. So really, they don't need to submit them. If they send it to us, it's nice. We will read it, but it will not impact their application or scholarship at all. So they don't need to submit that. However, for some graduate programs at Youngstown State University, letters of recommendation are required. For example, like a master's in social work. So in that case, in the application, the student will be required to write the names and email addresses for 2 or 3 recommenders, and then the system will automatically send that person an email and ask them to provide a letter of recommendation digitally. So undergraduate students don't need to, but some graduate applicants may need to submit those letters of recommendation.
And Victoria, I wanted to add something real quick about the on-campus employment or employment in general in the United States. I'd recommend to all the students, once they identified which university they're going to study, to get online ahead of time and check the university's website. Most institutions will have a website just for student employment. So what that means, they can start looking ahead of time what positions are available. Some could also start applying, but that doesn't mean that they will get an offer because usually the student will need to be here. But I've also seen that sometimes some students will make plans, reach out to the hiring manager, put their name in the hat in advance. And but for them to familiarize yourself on what they need and even reach out to career services, most institutions also have career services websites or offices that can help them with resume development or cover letters and things like that as well for employment. Another way that international students could find ways of employment would be also depending on their academic program. some programs offer, curricular practical training, CPT, and this something it takes more involvement. The students need to have been enrolled for at least, 1 year usually in the program, but there's also those options as well. So just want to make sure that I talked about those a little bit.
Thank you so much to you, Aaron, and thank you so much, Erica, for your wonderful, in-depth answers. And I guess another question I often get asked by students would be one about admission fees. In particular, students are often worried that when they start applying, those admission fees start to pile up. So is there a chance to get an admissions fee waiver or reduction by, for instance, communicating with admission officers ahead of time or attending specialized sessions hosted by the university?
So at Youngstown State University, we do not offer application fee waivers. Our tuition is affordable, and we do offer a high level of scholarship. So you will have to put that small investment of an application fee and pay that up front. But we believe that in the long run, you will benefit and have some savings there. So unfortunately, we do not offer these application fees when you're applying to Youngstown State University.
Thank you so much for your answer. And once again, a final call for questions for our lovely students. If you still have any questions about how standardized tests can impact your chances of being considered for a scholarship, or any questions in general about Youngstown State University, please feel free to reach out to our lovely speakers today. And so my final question would be a rather general one. So do you have any word of advice for aspiring students who are looking to get accepted to Youngstown State University in particular? And what are some of the things that could maybe help them stand out?
Yeah, thank you. So I would say, if you're interested in Youngstown State University, please reach out. I provided our email address. You can email us at intadm@ysu.edu. We're happy to answer your questions and help you navigate the application process, because it can be confusing when you apply for the first time. And so, definitely reach out to us if you have questions. We're happy to meet with you, even virtually, and guide you through the process. But I think what will help your application, as you're, going to apply, is for you to be organized, to be ready to submit your application and have all of your documents and test scores ready. So when you go to apply, you'll have to submit a copy of your passport, your high school transcript, a high school diploma or certificate if you've graduated, and you'll need to submit your English test score. If you are prepared and have all of your documents together and you submit your application, it will be much easier for our team. We can admit you very quickly and offer you that admission and scholarship soon. But if, let's say, you submit your application with no documents or you're missing some, it can take a lot of time and drag out the application process for you. You may have to communicate back and forth. And, so if you're prepared and have all of your documents together, that will help your application process be much faster. And, you want to apply early and get your processing done quickly so that you're still considered for scholarships. So definitely being prepared and submitting your application whole and complete can help your application be processed much smoother and help you be considered for scholarships. And I don't know, Dr. Mima, if you have something to add to that as well.
Well, I'm not sure about as far as the admission. I think Ms. Kraus was able to really provide some good guidelines to make sure their application is successful. But I just want to add that I'm a former international student myself, and I did come to Northeast Ohio. I went to a university. I was an international student. I went to a university which is only like 35 minutes away from Youngstown. So speaking about the area, Northeast Ohio, it's a very welcoming environment. More specifically, I would say the city of Youngstown, they're very welcoming to international students. They want to support international students. And there is many opportunities because we're located in such a great area between larger cities, smaller cities. So opportunities there's plenty of opportunities in this area for employment and, getting practical training after graduation as well. And I just want to say to all the students that are here in this show, in this webinar, that I admire, your intelligence, your courage, you being part of, working with Education USA. And, I think back of when I was a student and I was in your shoes looking for universities and applying and really taking this journey to come in the US and study. It takes a lot of work, a lot of courage being on your own, far away from your home. But it's definitely something that will prepare you for your future and really, make your life for you to be successful in your career and your lives as well. So I congratulate you on that, for taking the first step and looking into it. So thank you.
Thank you so much to Erica and to, of course, to Dr. Mamaya for your words of encouragement and for motivating our lovely students today. I just wanted to add to that if there are any newcomers in the audience today, please feel free to reach out to our lovely advisors and sign up for a free consultation, whether online or in person at our office in Kyiv. We would love to guide you through the application process, help you find resources for seeking funding, help you with putting together a winning essay for your application, and of course, guide you through any pitfalls and any questions you might have about the application process. So do not hesitate to reach out. And of course, stay tuned with us for next week when we are going to dive deeper into putting together a winning application for US admissions. If you still have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me directly. And if they're regarding Youngstown State University, I will be sure to collaborate with Erica to make sure I get a detailed and accurate answer to you, of course. Thank you so much to our fantastic guest speakers today. I hope we can collaborate sometime in the future. And to our students, keep believing in yourself, keep working on your application, and you will achieve your dream of studying in the United States. Stay safe and stay with Education USA. Bye.